Hi there, Jack's here from Shadow Forge, and do you know how they say that it's tough being between a rock and a hard place? Well, for a blacksmith, that's exactly where you want to put things, between a rock, or more accurately a hammer, and a hard place. But you need a hammer and a hard place in order to get any blacksmithing done. So today I'm going to show you how I put together my anvil, or anvil shaped object, or stump, or whatever you want to call it. You know what to do. So as you can see, it's a pretty big chunk of wood here. Interesting story about how I came about it. My wife knew that I needed a stump to put my ASO, that's an anvil shaped object, on top of, and she called around some tree companies around here and said, hey, would you be willing to sell us one of your offcuts? They said they would. I went out there, I found this stump, measured it across. It's big enough to hold my anvil shaped object. The interesting thing was, when I found the stump and I told the guy that I wanted it, he looked at it and he said, honestly, I don't even know what to charge you for this. And I said, well, I'll give you 20 bucks for it. He said, sure, let me help you load it in your truck. So load it in the back of my truck. Here it is. As you can see, it's not exactly stable, which is not good for putting an anvil on top of. So I'm gonna have to flatten the bottom. Also, I'm gonna have to debark this thing because bark, while it might look nice, it would be very bad if sparks got into this and set it on fire. I can't sink this into the ground to be the correct height, so I'm gonna have to cut it down to be the correct height for when I'm using it for my anvil. Very top of your anvil should be right where, if your arm is hanging loose at your side, it should be right about where your knuckles land. When you're using your arm, when you're hammering, you're gonna get the most force when you come down here. Your arm's not gonna be completely straight. The face of the hammer is gonna be a little below where your hand is. So you just wanna hang your hand naturally at your side. Keep your fingers curled. That's about where you want the top of the anvil to be. So if I say I got the top of the anvil right here, well, then I've got the entire height of my anvil to worry about, right? Somewhere down around here, I'm gonna have to cut it down. I'll measure the anvil exactly, but first, I've gotta level off the bottom of that. I gotta debark this sucker, cut it down to the correct height. All that I'm gonna do with a chainsaw. I'll probably use a sander to smooth it out just a little bit, make it a little bit smoother for me. Debarking, I actually got a draw knife specifically for it. The thing is, I wasn't exactly sure what size I was gonna need. Honestly, I just got a relatively cheap one from Amazon. I did not realize it was gonna have this much of a curve to it. So as you can see, that's not gonna be able to get to the bark. It's standing away from the side of the stump by quite a bit. Even though it's not flat, I can flip it so that I'm holding it like this, and I can debark this way. The other problem with this knife I noticed is that this edge is pretty sad. You can feel the edge. I mean, I can do this. I can go like along the edge. I'm not cutting myself. It is really not that sharp. I'm probably just gonna try to knock this little back edge off. That will allow me to make this just a little bit sharper, and then I can use it to get under the bark. There obviously is some damage to the stump itself. Once I get the bark off, I'll have to evaluate how bad that damage is and if I want to cut it down from here, or am I gonna cut it down from here? Do I wanna leave this, or do I wanna try to cut it off as much as possible? I don't know how deep that goes. this I am. Oof. That's about level. That is absolutely level. some of the best stuff that you can do to one of these Harbor Freight anvils in order to make it a little more usable. First of all, it has this horrible powder coating all over it. Secondly, it has very sharp edges, so if you try to forge on that, you know, if you have a piece of steel hanging off that and you're pounding on it, you could chip this edge, so it's best to round off a little bit of a radius here. I don't know if you can also see, this is not the smoothest surface, there's little ridges in it. Any piece of steel that you forge on here is going to be, it's going to have these little ridges in it. So I'm going to take my angle grinder, which is back there. I've got a 40 grit and a 120. We will see which one this needs. I'm hoping to just use the 120 on the surface. I might need the 40 for cleaning the the powder coat off of all this crap over here. I got much smoother horn, much smoother face. So there's an anvil stand well and truly done. All I need to do is something to heat up the metal so I can crush it on top of this thing. See you next time. Bye.